Hello, everybody. My name is Don, and I am starting this brand new channel called The King's Things. Thanks to my son. He gave me an idea about the name because I know there's a lot of other collectors out there, a lot of other great channels out there, Elvis Presley memorabilia, and I just wanted to be a little different than everybody else, a lot different actually. I'm not, I'm not spending thousands or millions of dollars buying cars or pieces of Elvis Presley's stage wear and things like that. Would I love to have that as part of my collection? Absolutely. But is it realistic? No. Have I spent thousands of dollars over the years? Absolutely. I've been collecting for over 47 years, close to 50 years. I've been an Elvis Presley collector and an Elvis Presley fan, not just a collector. I think there are collectors that collect it for the reasons of trying to make money. The reason I collect it is passing it on to my family, my sons, but just the passion and love for his music, for the entertainer, for what he stood for. And and I know there are a lot of things over the years that people talk about, how he was a drug addict and all those other bad things that come with it. I get that. I get that, but it wasn't my lifestyle to live. But again, the passion I have for Elvis and his music and Elvis and the mystique and me as a child, really just loving the idea of collecting and being a part of a fan club and playing sports and doing everything that a young boy does. But at the age of 13 when Elvis died, a bit devastated because I was a young Elvis impersonator, a little boy where my parents made me the jumpsuits. I was a lip syncer, but I didn't then started thinking about, my mom had always collected. My mom had albums and things like that. And I figured, okay, as their antique stores were around us and my wife and I are what we call antiquers, that I would start the drive of looking for things and collecting things. And certainly have all the newspapers when Elvis Presley passed away, the one from Memphis, the one from Detroit, the one from Baltimore. But then I started thinking, wow, how can I find things that were around, before Elvis died? Because I know there are a lot of people that have shown their collections of things that they've collected, pillows and statues and dolls and things that that have come out after Elvis died. And again, great collections, no qualms, no negative comments about those collectors, because I think there's room for all collectors. But my collection is more of the normal person that can afford these things, that are in for the hunt. And certainly eBay and the internet has changed that world a little bit. But my collection is a little different, a little unique. Do I have a few pieces after Elvis died? Absolutely, because I like the uniqueness of them. I think it's pretty cool, and I'll share a few of those pieces with you. So, but I'm also a big fan of the Spa Guy. Love his videos. Actually, that's kind of one of the things that drove me to want to do a YouTube channel. Billy talks about where Elvis performed, where he was, and he does a phenomenal job. And if you guys don't give him the ultimate utmost respect and a thumbs up, then please watch his channels. I know he has several hundred videos, and I've been watching him from the beginning. Matter of fact, I'm hoping at this celebration of the 50th anniversary that I get a chance to meet him, because I have one of his books that were unfortunately sold when the dojo was taken back from him, and inappropriately, and I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but I have a book that was sold online that I purchased that I'm going to give back to him from one of his from one of Elvis Presley's army buddies that he had signed, and I'd like to hand deliver that back to him as a thank you for what he's done for me. The amount of time that I've spent watching YouTube. I'm a tuber, and I'm in the digital world. I've been in the digital world for a long time, selling digital marketing. But long story short, let me show you a few things. And the first thing is, again, watching YouTube. I watched a gentleman not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, probably about 3-4 weeks ago, talked about his mother's collection. And some of the things that his mother had that were kind of unique, which I thought were cool. A few things that, again, that were sold after Elvis passed away. But this one was really cool. And this was a key that he had, and I now have one, for the Hilton in Las Vegas. It's not the International, but it is the Hilton, which became the Hilton after the International. But more importantly, it is Las Vegas, Nevada. I love this because, let's be honest, everybody that's watching YouTube, and the older, the younger, the middle-aged generation, you don't see keys to anymore, especially to hotels. We have the key cards, we have the fingerprint, we have buttons that we can push. We have a lot of things that you can do to get into your hotel room, Bluetooth from your phone, and I'm certainly love all that technology. But to find a key, and very difficult to find. This happened to be a key collector, which I thought was awesome. Didn't spend a lot of money on it at all, which was really, really cool. And again, I thought, again, as I watch all these videos and see things that I think are incredibly unique, I wanted to have that. I'm also very, very big into the concert years, certainly as a young boy, putting on the jumpsuit and performing. And by the way, liking making money and meeting girls. I thought it was cool, when I was younger. And at the end of the day, the concert years have always been a big part of what I've always enjoyed. The 68, 69 up to 77. And I really enjoy, the 74, even the 73 Aloha from Hawaii on to 77, which was the last concert, and having memorabilia from those concerts. And I have the booklets, I have a bunch of stuff, rare photos, one-of-a-kind photos, booklets of a bunch of photos, and even from Elvis Presley's personal photographer, I have photos that I purchased from him. But, we go back to the button days, those buttons, a lot of these that are around anymore. Not a lot of entertainers sell these anymore. You don't see them worn anymore. Certainly the punk rockers still have them on their clothes, which I absolutely love. My wife and I love that music, the new wave alternative music. But specifically, pins from 1976, the spirit of 1976, pins that are probably 75, 76, 77 that were sold. I have probably like 35, 40 of these, which are all different. A couple of the exact same ones. Purchased them from somebody's private collection, so I have the provenance and the COA for everything that I'm going to share, which I thought was pretty cool. The other thing that I was always a collector of was baseball cards, and baseball cards is one of those little boys things. When back in the 70s, growing up, everybody had to be outside. Most people aren't outside anymore. I love when I see kids outside playing, because that's where we used to be when we were young. And for the newer generation that may be watching this, it's okay. And again, I love the new generation that may be watching this, because you were brought into it. Maybe you knew of it from your parents. Maybe you watched the Elvis movie with Austin Butler, liked it or didn't like it. I thought it just had a nice resurgence of Elvis fans. Gave you a chance to see a little bit about the person. Maybe not everything was correct. I get that. Not everything's gonna be correct. But the fact that it was made, the fact that Lisa and Priscilla, before Lisa passed away, had a chance to see it. An award was won, on behalf of the whole memory of Elvis Presley, and that's the part that I remember. Always like to remember the good things. No reason to hold on to too many bad things, because the bad things really just sort of bring you down. And everybody can talk about how Elvis passed away and all the things that he did wrong, but think about the things that you don't know. Think about the things that he gave away. Think about the things that he did for people, the contributions, the money, everything, and didn't have to. I mean, let's be honest. Not a lot of entertainers today do that. Some do it very well, and I applaud them. Taylor Swift is probably one of them. Does a phenomenal job for her entourage, the same way Elvis Presley took care of his entourage. But the 50s, as a card collector, my parents always said, put your stuff in books, put it in boxes, preserve them. The same thing I've done for my guys over the years. I have my original baseball card collection, certainly not a collection like a friend of mine has. He has a phenomenal collection, probably one of the largest in the world, baseball card and memorabilia collector. And he also has the original packages of the Elvis cards from the early 50s that are still in the packet, which I thought was phenomenal. I don't have that yet, but I do have a few other things that I thought were cool. I do have the entire collection of cards from the 50s. You can see those there. Several pages, so I have the entire collection. Again, a lot of these were found through shows. A lot of them were found years later through internet searching, which I thought was actually got to be fun, because then you get to pick the quality of card that you want. And I wasn't always, I don't have to have the perfect 10. I don't have to have the perfect 9 or 8. I wanted to have the full collection. So I have the entire collection of the early 50s cards. Being a little boy, Lockman's in Reisterstown, Maryland. I'm from Reisterstown, Maryland. I was able to find and still have the original cards that I purchased. This is the original card that I purchased in 1977, still in the package, which I keep here in the book. I do have a duplicate or replica of, and this is a replica, and I'll be honest with you, anytime I show you something, if it's a replica, I do have a replica of the actual package of one of the type of cards that came out in the 50s. But again, the entire collection of cards that are sitting here, and as I mentioned before, the entire collection of the 70s cards. Now I do have 4 or 5 sets of the cards from the 70s, but I have every other card collection that came out after that, and there are other books that I'll share with other channels that I have. So You can see the other collections that came out in the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. Again, being a card collector, I liked cards. So that is a contradiction of what I said after the 70s, the 77, not really collecting a lot of those cards. But I did remember, as I was getting into, and you notice I don't wear white gloves. My collection is one of those collections where I want people to experience it. I love collectors that keep things in their boxes, and I have several things that, yes, are still in the boxes, but I'm one of those people that I just enjoy the collection, and I want you to be a collector that enjoys your collection and you want to share it. I don't want it to be, I didn't want mine to be in a box somewhere, and it's sitting where nobody else can see it and even enjoy it. Why have it then? I want people to enjoy it, not necessarily having to play with something, but being able to see it. The other thing that I enjoyed was the calendar cards. As I was getting into the cards, I wanted to make sure that the calendar cards, the holiday season cards, I have all of them. So going back to 1963, and people thought they ended in 1977. They didn't. The last calendar card was actually brought out in 1980. And I may not have all my facts straight, just so my Elvis friends and collectors that are out there, there may be some things that I'm off. I'm just telling you what I've been able to learn through, the internet. And again, I know that the internet, it doesn't have every fact right, but again, 97% of it is pretty damn good. Yeah, up into the 1980s. So I have a couple of those cards, and that was the 1955 to 1980. Talked about 25 years of RCA records. That was a card that actually came out. And the actual last card, yes, was 1979, where it was always Elvis. And then I have every card prior to that. And as I mentioned, I do have the holiday cards. A few are in this book here. So I have the holiday cards and the Easter greetings cards, things like that. So these are the Easter greetings cards. I also have the Happy Holiday Christmas cards that came out from the Colonel, and several of the packets from the 1970s that are still in here. I have the box still of the cards that came in them. But again, that's just a portion of my card collection and many other books that I can share with you. Speaking of card collection, one of those things that I talked about that's kind of unique, that came out after 1977. So I bought this probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm going to give kudos to the company that designed this, but has anybody seen an Elvis Presley baseball card? And I thought this was kind of cool. Anything that's unique like this, I'd like to grab. There's a sort of a nice heads up for the company, or kudos to the company that I got it from. But a baseball card, an Elvis Presley baseball card, which I thought was really, really cool. The one thing I have also been doing is buying things overseas. My wife and I were in Paris, and so while we were in France, had the opportunity to look at some collections that were there, more album collections, record collections, and things like that. It's nice to say the word record again, because for those that we grew up with 45s. I have many of the 78s. I have many of the Sun label records. I have the entire Elvis Presley record collection, the albums, every album that came out that was even a celebration of his life, a contributor, a contribution, things that came out after Elvis died. I have all those albums as well. I'm now in the midst of collecting all of the 45s. Probably have about 96% of every 45 that Elvis ever put out. I know there's several different versions of albums. I know there's several different versions of 45s. I get all that, but to me, honestly, I'm not about trying to collect it. I know there are record collectors, and record collectors, I absolutely love you, and I watch your channels as well. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that I'm trying to complete, and I know sometimes completed series may be having every version of it. I just want every record. And speaking of overseas, as I'm out there looking at auctions sometimes late at night, and you notice, as I mentioned before, I do a little bit of painting on the side, and got a couple different Elvis Presleys. Got a younger Elvis, older Elvis, and a lot of different entertainers. I finished up a bunch of Bruce Springsteen last night, who was a fan of Elvis Presley, obviously. I've done the Beatles, I've done Taylor Swift, I've done Chris Stapleton, I've done a bunch of paintings. And that, by the way, I'll just give a little shout out to my Instagram channel. That's art.colorsofculture. Again, art.colorsofculture. And there's some artwork on there, and I love even painting. Certainly, for those Elvis fans that would love, a personal painting of Elvis Presley, I would love to do that for you. I'm more modern. I think you'll see a lot of different colors, which again play into Elvis. But speaking of overseas, I love collecting autographs, and I love the idea COAs, again, provenance, making sure that they're real, because there are a lot of different, scams out there today. Certainly, every time my phone rings, it's a potential scam. People, pretending to be somebody else when, on the phone. Everybody's trying to scam you to take something from you. So I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want that in my collection. It doesn't make any sense. It's not real. I like artifacts. I like things that are real. I had a chance to, be at the Smithsonian Institute a couple weekends ago at the Hirshhorn, looking at artwork and looking at, pieces that are in a museum, and darn well they've gone through a thorough investigation to make sure they're real pieces. But this one I did as well, and every one of my autographs, I have I think 5 different Elvis Presley autographs, but I got several autographs from his entire entourage. Family members, loved ones, daughter. You name it. I mean, and I'll share those with you over different YouTube videos. But this was the last piece that I'll share, which I thought was really, really cool. So this couple was being transferred overseas, and had the opportunity to sell me. And again, I'm trying to get it in the camera here. I'm positive you can see that. But I know there are a lot of autograph collectors, and I know that I learned of a few other things the other night. Cut autographs, and autographs that are actually on things, and personalized. I have a lot of those different types, so I have several, and I look forward to sharing those. Movie posters signed that were actually from a person that you'll recognize the name. The Elvis collectors will recognize the name when I share it. That actually got that autograph from Elvis inside Graceland, and that is in the actual letter that is signed, and the COA that comes with it. Autographed photos, personal photos, one-of-a-kind photos that were taken at movie sets. So I love those pieces as well. That particular photo is actually sitting in my home theater, inside a theater that's in our basement. We have 3 levels to our home here, and it's in the dark, so I want to keep that one completely away from light. And the majority of my collection actually is away from the light. A lot of my things are stored in boxes. I don't have Elvis shrines in my home. That's probably the closest thing that you're going to see, as a shrine, and that's a 3D statue of Elvis Presley's head there. So this is probably and an Elvis piece that's up there, and microphone and a couple glasses here, but this is the gist of it. But this particular autograph, which I thought was really cool, does have the COA. I try to put the COA and the actual letter from the actual person that sold it to me on the very back. So I always have it. And if anybody that acquires my collection, which will probably be my wife and my sons, when I leave this wonderful life here, will be the people that will inherit it. So I thank you for watching this. I hope you like it. I hope you like it and you can subscribe. Again, I'm not here to solicit anybody to buy anything. I'm just an Elvis collector that has the King's things, something that's a little different than most people. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like us, subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more. I have a lot of pieces that I've collected over the year, and very, very unique. I can't wait to share with you some of the pieces that I'm sure some of you have seen, haven't seen, or are trying to find, which I've been able to find or acquire over the years. So thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day. Take care.